Hi, I'm Cheryl. I'm going to show you how to make this birthday card. Well, as a matter of fact, it doesn't have to be a birthday card. It could be just about any other card you wanted it to be. I chose to put a happy birthday greeting on it, but it make a nice thinking of you, thanks, I don't know, happy, did I say happy anniversary? So this could work for just about any occasion that you can think of. And as usual, I didn't put anything on the inside. So let me go over the list of things we need. We're going to make it in a slightly different color this time, but I will list also the colors and the materials that I used on my sample card down below in the materials list. So we need a piece of very vanilla cardstock, and this is 5.5 by 8.5, and that's scored and folded at 4 1/4. That's our card base. For this one, we'll be using a piece of chocolate chip, and this is 1 3/4 by 2 3/4. Then we'll need some saffron, and I punched out all the little flowers already because I didn't feel that you needed instructions on how to punch flowers out. And that was from a piece that was about 4.5 by 1.5, or you could use any little scraps you had, just so that you have enough that you can use your blossom bunch punch, and you'll want to punch 3 of the large flowers and 2 of the small flowers. We're not using the big one at all, so just the medium. 3 of the medium, 2 of the small ones. And the cardstock I used for both the one that I'm using today, the designer paper, is called Cupcakes and Carousels, but that's from Stampin' Up, and there are a lot of lovely designs in here. You can see some of the ones I've used. I used that one on the original card. And basically what you need is 2 cardstocks that coordinate, and you want one light with a with not a real dark busy pattern on it. That's the lighter one is the one we're going to be stamping on, so you want your stamp to show up on it, and then a darker shade. So I'm going in the coral colors this time rather than this turquoise color. So we need a piece of each of those, 5 1/4 by 4. And let me get rid of this. And I'm using the endless birthdays stamp. And I'm having a hard time getting this in because I have my camera down low, so you can see a little better when I'm actually doing things. But it's endless birthdays, and I'm using the small happy. Where is it? The small happy, and then the larger script birthday stamp from this one. And then from Flourishing Phrases, I'm using just this leaf spray, and I need to get that out because I didn't cut one. Nope, I didn't cut one. So I'm going to need to do that and bring my Big Shot in here. The inks we're using are Early Espresso, and we'll be using Calypso Coral. We'll need a sponge dauber. I have my Sharpie out. I'm going to be using this to shape the flowers because I don't have a ball stylus. So if you have a ball stylus set, you can use those. It might be a little easier for you. But I don't have one as yet. I have one on order, but it's coming, I guess, from China. and looks like it's going to be a couple weeks out before I get it. But I'm going to use the cap of my Sharpie marker. You do what you got to do, right? And I have a very fine lace. This was sold at one point by Stampin' Up, but I'm sure you could find something similar in your local craft stores. And this is 3/8 of an inch wide. We'll need about, what do we need? About 15 inches of this. My Tombow glue. And then I have, this is the embossing mat from my Cuttlebug. But if you have a mouse pad that has a smooth side on it, that will work just as well. And then off on the side here, oops, I have my glue gun. So I don't often use the glue gun because I get scared I'm going to burn myself. And you may get to see that today. I'm not sure. You just can never tell. So let me see, where did I put my die here? Let me get my Big Shot in here and we'll cut this leaf out. We'll do that first, and that will be out of the way, and we can move on from there. So need to gather up my, I'm going to use my precision plate on that, because this is a rather detailed die. So I'll put my Big Shot platform in, my precision plate, which I need to clean off one of these days soon. Put my paper down and my die on top of that. And then I'm using one of my homemade plates on here. I did a video on this, on making your own stamp blocks earlier. You might want to take a look at that video if you need stamp blocks. But I also made myself some plates using acrylic, 1/8 inch acrylic, and those didn't work out at all. They cracked on some of the dies that I have. Some of them, I guess, are just too thick. But this time I used, oh, what was it? Polycarbonate. Yeah. And so I've been using those exclusively to test them out for quite a while now. And they seem to be working really well. I did put a little add-on on the video saying both don't use the acrylic, and then I also put a little note on there about using the polycarbonate, and that it's working well for me. So if you don't mind a little work with a bandsaw or whatever way you want to cut it, then you can save yourself some money on plates by making your own. Okay, so there we go. I got my leaves, my little leaf spray, and a little chocolate chip leaf spray. I can put all this aside. I don't need this anymore. Off on the floor it goes. Hopefully it doesn't get sucked into my black hole in my craft room. I have a black hole in my craft room. I drop things on the floor and never see them again. I don't know what happens to them. They just disappear forever. So that's, of course, that's the only logical explanation for that, right? So there's a black hole on my craft room floor. So I'm going to use the Calypso Coral and the sponge dauber, and I've got all my little flower pieces out here. I'm going to put a good amount of color all around the edges. I'm going to leave the center pretty much untouched because I want a little of the yellow to show from the Saffron cardstock. And we'll just do all these. real quick. Quick like a bunny. You could take a little more time with this if you want, but for the sake of the length of the video, I'm trying to keep it pretty fast. Alright, so I'm done with the Calypso Coral. Let me move these. I'm going to wipe. It's going to be neat. I'm going to wipe that up. This is a silicone mat that I'm working on, so I can do things like this and everything just wipes off. It's wonderful. Okay, so I've got my flowers all colored. I'm going to take my Sharpie. I'm going to, on each point here, I'm going to just very hard, I'm going to drag towards the center on each of these. As a matter of fact, I might get my other special tool. This is a dowel, or not a dowel, it's a skewer that I've sanded the point of it so that it's rounded. I'm going to use that because I really want these rounded a lot. See, I'm like the MacGyver of crafts. Give me a rubber band and some chewing gum and I'm good to go. I'll make something out of it. So we're going to drag that into the center. We want those edges we want all the little points rolled up really good. So I'm using quite a bit of pressure on these. And on one of these center flowers, I'm going to give it a good poke in the middle so it really folds up. Can you see that? So yeah, I'm going to use my glue gun today and put these together. I don't know how you feel about glue guns. I have some mixed feelings about them, if you can tell, because I often burn myself with them. So that's not that would definitely be a con. The pro is they put things together pretty fast. So that's a good thing, I guess. But I've been using my glue gun a little bit more lately. So hopefully I don't injure myself today. Okay, and the last one. And there we go. One more little petal. There. I'm going to move these all back to my silicone mat because I'm not sure what this mat's made of, but it feels more like rubber. So I've got my glue gun, and I'll start with my little flowers. This is the one that I really cupped. So I'm going to put just a dab of glue. Come on, glue. I saw on Amazon there's one of these glue guns, one of the mini glue guns that's got a precision tip on it. I'm considering getting one since I'm using my glue gun more now. Okay, and you want your leaves offset, or your petals offset. So there's my little center. I can start putting these together. Put a little glue in the center there. I do find that you can cut down on the amount of strings you end up with if you do that little circular motion with your glue gun. Yeah, I'll show you. There's do another little dab of glue here. And if you go like this, it helps to cut down the strings a lot. We want our little petals offset on these too. Okay. And then we're going to put our center flowers in. Our little flower center. And there we go. I think it looks like a little star flower. I'm going to take just a second. I'm going to flip up some of these other inner petals just a little bit more. So that they fill in our little flower better. Okay. Well, that looks pretty good. You see? Doesn't it remind you of the little straw flowers in the dried flower bouquets? Okay, so I'm going to put these aside for the moment. And we'll start doing the front of the card. Okay, so I have my 2 pieces of paper. The dark one is going to go down first. So let me move that out of the way first. The dark one will go down first, and then our swirled or our curved pieces here in the lighter designer paper will go on top. So what I did, I made myself a template because I wanted my curves to be the same on the on both well, and all the pieces. I wanted the curves to be the same, so I just used my template. I held it in place like so, and just used, where's my scissors? There they are. Used a pair of scissors and just cut along that line. If you would, or along the edge. If you would rather, you can always draw a line on and cut along that. Okay, so now I'm going to leave a little space here, about an inch, and I'm going to have my curve going this way. So once again, I'm going to cut along that. Little pattern piece that I have, and we have our bottom piece that will go on just like so. Now we have our top piece here, and I'm going to lay my little template on there and cut along my template again. I just free-handed cutting the curves on this, but if you needed to, you could certainly take something. There's a cool little piece, huh? But that's scrap. We're going to be using this top piece. But you could certainly take something round like this, and you could well, this is kind of small, but something bigger and round, and you could use that to make your curves. And when you cut them, they don't even have to be perfect, because we're going to put that lace. You see, we're going to put lace over it. So it's all going to be hidden away, I guess is what I'm saying. So this is another one of those projects you can just have fun with it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to be covering it up. Put some Tombow glue on my lower piece. And I'll line that up real nice with the edge here. And there's that piece. And now I'll do the top piece. I got a little Tombow glue on my finger. Got to get rid of that. And there we go. There's that done. Now I'm going to attach it to the card front. No, I'm not. Now I'm going to put the lace on. Why am I doing the lace next? Because when I put the lace on, I'm going to have it it'll probably extend past the edge and I can trim it off nicely. If it's not, you see I have it past the edge. Now I have my Tombow glue along that curved line, and I'm just touching it back in place here. I'm just touching it in place very lightly because I don't want to get glue all over everything. I just want to tap it enough that it stays in place on the glue. I'm going to cut the excess off here. And I still have ends on it. Once the Tombow glue has set up a little bit, I'll trim those ends off. Okay, so now I'm going to have a edging of lace go here along that edge. So I'll put my Tombow down. And you don't need a whole lot of it. Tombow glue is wonderful. I don't know what we ever did before there was Tombow glue. And so, here we go. I'm just going to touch it down. Just tapping it in place. And there we go. There's that piece. I'm just going to tweak this a little bit because I want to move it a little bit more so it looks more curved. It didn't look very curved to me, so I still have a little bit of time because we're working with Tombow. If I could have used my glue gun since I have it here and I have it all heated up, but by now it would have been cooled off and stuck in place forever. So it's the reason I'm using the Tombow for this, not my glue gun. And we'll just do our little line there. And bring out some more lace. I'm working off of the spool. Usually that's the more economical way to go, even though I say you're going to need, say 15 inches is what would be needed for this project, but there's bound to be little scraps or end pieces that you could have kept on your spool and used some other time. So I'm being economical. So now I'll trim off these edges. Even though my Tombow's not totally dry yet, I think I can get away with this. I'll just be careful. Okay, now if you wanted to, you could pop this panel up and add a little bit more dimension to your card. I did not. I kept it flat. So I'm going to put my Tombow glue on the back. You know what? Let me stamp next, because that would be the way to go. I could use my Mini Misty and do the stamping, but I feel pretty confident that I can get a decent stamp on this. If you had to, if you absolutely had to, say you had no more of this designer paper and this is what you wanted to send to somebody, then I recommend using a stamp positioner like the Mini Misty. For me, it's not that important. If I mess it up a little bit, well, then I just make another card. Okay, so I have my birthday stamp on one block. Okay, oh, nice impression. Let me pat myself on the back. That's a good one. And I have my happy, my little tiny happy on a separate block. The reason I did that was because I couldn't put them close enough together on my stamp block, so I had to put them on two separate blocks. It's got, you know, the stamps always have this little little edge around it, around the lettering, and I just couldn't squeeze them in close enough, so I did them on 2 separate stamp blocks. Now we'll put this down on our card base. I'm going to use the Tombow glue for that also. You could use a tape runner if you want it. I like the Tombow though because it gives me a little bit of time to get my card front in position. So I want just a little 1/8 inch showing all the way around. Okay, and that's pretty just the way it is, don't you think? But we're going to add the little sprig of leaves next. And I'm just going to put just a tiny little Tombow just where the leaves join the stem, because I don't mind if it sticks up a little bit. I'm overlapping the edges a little bit. You just don't want it to go past your card base. So I'm going to give the stem just a little trim there. And now I'll put my flower in place. And our card will be done. Well, except for the inside sentiment, but I'll leave that up to you what you want to put inside there. And we put our flower. And finished. So there's my sample card, and then there's the one we just made today. So I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button down below. That's always encouraging to see that people like to see my videos. And if you do like my videos and want to see more of them, then be sure to hit the subscribe button. I have quite a few out there by now. I try to put up 2 or 3 every week. If there's any Stampin' Up! Products that you'd like to shop for with me, then you can do that either through my Facebook page or my website. And as always, I have all my materials that I use listed down below. So y'all take care. Stay safe, and happy stamping.